He won't make it through the night. The doctor didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. The machines beside the bed spoke for him, slow, uneven beeps that felt more like a countdown than a heartbeat. Around the room, no one argued. Because the man lying there wasn't just anyone. Park Min-Jae. A name people didn't say loudly in Seoul. Not because they couldn't. But because they understood what came with it. Power. Control. And consequences. And now, that same man lay still. Don't scroll, because what's about to happen in this room? No one there was prepared for it. Like, subscribe, and stay with Afro-Korean Story Vault. Because one moment is about to change everything. The oxygen mask covered half his face. His chest rose slowly, like even breathing had become a struggle. 3 men stood nearby. One stood closest to the bed, calm, unreadable. Another paced, restless, unable to hide his tension. The third didn't move at all, but his eyes missed nothing. "Are you saying there's nothing you can do?" the calm one asked. The doctor hesitated. Then nodded. Yes. That word settled heavily in the room. No shouting. No reaction. Just, understanding. Because men like Min-Jae didn't prepare for death. They avoided it. And then. Someone moved. Not one of them. Someone in the corner. A girl. She had been there the whole time. Quiet. Unnoticed. A cleaning bucket beside her. A mop leaning against the wall. She didn't belong in that room. But she hadn't left. She took a step forward. "Hey." A guard turned sharply. "You're not supposed to be here." Now everyone looked at her. And for the first time, the room shifted. She looked at the man on the bed. Then said, "No." The word was soft. But it didn't belong in that room. And everyone there knew it. The guard frowned. "Excuse me." The girl didn't move. "No," she said again. Not louder. Just clearer. That was enough. The sound of metal clicked. A gun. Not raised fully. But ready. "You don't speak here," the guard said. "Especially not like that." The girl swallowed. Fear was there. But it didn't stop her. She looked back at the man on the bed. "They said he's going to die," she said quietly. No one responded. "They said there's nothing left." Now the room was watching closely. Trying to understand her. Or decide what to do with her. She stepped closer. Slowly. No one stopped her this time. Not because they allowed it. But because they were unsure. She stood beside the bed. Close enough to see him clearly. Then she whispered. Exodus 23 verse 26. "The number of your days. I will fulfill." Nothing happened. The machine continued. Beep. 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 And that made it worse. Because now. All attention returned to her. "You just made a promise," the guard said quietly. "And if you're wrong." The gun lifted slightly. "You don't leave this room." She didn't look at him. Didn't respond. Just watched the man. Seconds passed. Nothing changed. Then. The machine paused. Too long. "Wait," the nurse whispered. The monitor flickered. Once. Then again. The rhythm changed. Not stronger. Not stable. But no longer fading. And suddenly. No one in that room was comfortable anymore. "What is that?" one of the guards demanded. No one answered. Because no one understood it. The nurse stepped closer. Her hands trembling slightly. "That's not possible." The doctor rushed back in. Checked the monitor. Checked the patient. Then stopped. Especially not like that. The girl swallowed. Fear was there. But it didn't stop her. She looked back at the man on the bed. They said he's going to die, she said quietly. No one responded. They said there's nothing left. Now the room was watching closely. Trying to understand her. Or decide what to do with her. She stepped closer. Slowly. No one stopped her this time. Not because they allowed it. But because they were unsure. She stood beside the bed. Close enough to see him clearly. Then she whispered. Exodus 23 verse 26. The number of your days. I will fulfill. Nothing happened. The machine continued. Beep. 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 And that made it worse. Because now. All attention returned to her. You just made a promise, the guard said quietly. And if you're wrong. The gun lifted slightly. You don't leave this room. She didn't look at him. Didn't respond. Just watched the man. Seconds passed. Nothing changed. Then. The machine paused. Too long. Wait, the nurse whispered. The monitor flickered. Once. Then again. The rhythm changed. Not stronger. Not stable. But no longer fading. And suddenly. No one in that room was comfortable anymore. What is that? One of the guards demanded. No one answered. Because no one understood it. The nurse stepped closer. Her hands trembling slightly. That's not possible. The doctor rushed back in. Checked the monitor. Checked the patient. Then stopped. Then. I believed. That answer didn't help. It made it worse. The machine continued. Stronger now. Closer to steady. Then. A movement. Small. But real. Did you see that? The nurse whispered. The doctor leaned in. Watching carefully. It happened again. A finger. Moving. The room changed instantly. What's happening? That's not possible. He wasn't. Voices overlapped. Control broke. The doctor stepped back slightly. He's responding, he said. And just like that. Everything shifted. The man they feared. Was coming back. And in that moment, something none of them could explain settled quietly in the room. That sometimes, when everyone gives up. Belief is the only thing that refuses to. The room didn't settle. It couldn't. Because nothing about what was happening made sense anymore. The machine wasn't struggling now. It was stabilizing. Not fully steady, but close enough to make everyone uneasy. The doctor adjusted the monitors again, slower this time, like he was afraid of interfering with something he didn't understand. This doesn't reverse like this, he said under his breath. No one replied. Because now, they had seen it. The man on the bed drew another breath. Deeper. On his own. The pacing guard stopped completely. That alone said everything. Because he hadn't stopped moving since the doctor spoke. Now he stood still, watching. Waiting. Check everything, the calm one said. His voice wasn't loud. But it carried authority. Immediate. The doctor obeyed. Wires. Pulse. Eyes. Breathing. Everything. Again. And again. It's real, the doctor said finally. Reluctantly. Like he didn't want to be the one confirming it. He's stabilizing. That word shifted the room again. Stabilizing. Not dying. Not fading. Coming back. And slowly. Attention turned. Not to the machines. Not to the doctor. To her. She hadn't moved. Not since she stepped back. Her posture relaxed. Her breathing steady. Like this moment wasn't new to her. Like she had seen something like this before. The guard stepped closer again. This time, slower. More careful. "Who are you?" he asked. Not aggressive. Not loud. But serious. Jasmine looked at him. Not intimidated. Not challenging. Just calm. "I clean here," she said. A few of the men exchanged looks. That answer didn't sit right. Not anymore. "No," the guard said. "That's not what I asked." She didn't respond. Her eyes moved back to the man on the bed. That silence irritated him more than any answer could. Because now, he wasn't in control of the conversation. Behind him, another voice spoke. Low. Careful. She spoke before it changed. No one denied it. Because they all remembered. The calm one stepped forward now. The closest he had been to her. He studied her face. Not quickly. Not casually. Carefully. Like he was trying to understand something hidden beneath what she showed. "You said something," he said. Not a question. A statement. Jasmine nodded once. "What did you mean?" She hesitated. Just for a second. Then said. "I didn't mean anything." A pause. "I said what I know." That answer didn't make sense. And that was the problem. Because now, it wasn't just what she said. It was how sure she sounded. The air in the room changed again. Not fear this time. Something else. Focused. The guard who had raised the gun earlier lowered it completely now. Not out of trust. But out of calculation. "Say it again," he said. Jasmine didn't move. "I already did." "That's not how this works," another man snapped. "You don't decide what to repeat in this room." She turned slightly. Looked at him. And for the first time, there was something different in her eyes. Not fear. Clarity. "I didn't say it for you," she repeated. Silence followed. But it wasn't the same silence as before. This one was heavier. Because now, they were listening differently. The doctor stepped in carefully. Trying to bring the room back to something logical. "We need to focus," he said. "He's not fully stable yet." That pulled attention back, briefly. Back to the bed. Back to reality. The man's fingers moved again. Stronger this time. Not just a twitch. A response. The nurse gasped. "He's reacting." The doctor leaned in immediately. "Min-Jae," he said. No response. But his chest rose deeper this time. Alive. Clearly alive. The calm guard exhaled slowly. Then spoke. "No one leaves." That included her. Jasmine didn't react. Didn't ask questions. Didn't move. Because she already knew. And that was what made them uneasy again. "Watch her," one of them said quietly. Two men shifted slightly. Positioning. Not threatening. But ready. Not to stop her. But to understand her. Because now, she wasn't just a cleaner in the room. She was part of the situation. And whether they liked it or not, something in that room had responded. When she spoke. Minutes passed. But no one felt them. Because every second, something changed. The machine steadied further. Not perfect. But consistent enough to shift the atmosphere completely. The doctor straightened slightly. Still cautious. But no longer certain of failure. He's holding, he said. That word mattered. Holding. Not slipping. The calm guard stepped closer to the bed. This time. Without hesitation. Min-Jae, he said again. Lower. More controlled. Then. Movement. His hand tightened. Weak. But intentional. The nurse covered her mouth. The doctor froze. Because now. There was no doubt. He wasn't just alive. He was coming back. And then. The smallest shift. His lips moved. Barely. Jasmine's eyes focused. Sharper now. She stepped forward. Just one step. This time. No one stopped her. Because everyone was watching him. Not her. And in that moment. The balance in the room changed. Not completely. But enough. The man on the bed drew another breath. Then. His eyes flickered. Once. Not open. But close. The doctor whispered. He's regaining consciousness. That word landed harder than anything else. Because if he woke up. Everything changed. Power returned. Control returned. Consequences returned. The guard turned slowly. Looked at Jasmine again. Not with anger. Not with threat. With something else. Recognition. Because now. The most dangerous man in the room. Was about to wake up. And the only person who had spoken before it happened. Was her. No one spoke. Because the room had reached that point. Where anything could happen. The machine held steady. Beep. 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 Then. His fingers tightened again. Stronger this time. The doctor leaned forward immediately. Min-Jae, can you hear me? Then. His chest rose deeper. And slowly. His eyes opened. Not fully. But enough. The nurse stepped back. One of the guards swore under his breath. Because this. This wasn't supposed to happen. His gaze didn't focus at first. Blurred. Like he was pulling himself back from somewhere far. The doctor moved quickly. Stay with me, he said. You're safe. But Min-Jae didn't respond to him. Didn't react. Didn't even look at him. Instead. His eyes moved. Slowly. Across the room. Past the guards. Past the doctor. Past everything. Until. They stopped. On her. Jasmine. Didn't react. Just stood there. And for a moment. Everything else disappeared. Because the way he looked at her. Wasn't confusion. It was recognition. Like he had seen her before. Even though that was impossible. The doctor noticed it first. The direction of his gaze. Min-Jae. No response. Look at me, the doctor tried again. Nothing. Because Min-Jae wasn't looking at him. He was still looking at her. His breathing shifted slightly. Not weaker. Not stronger. Just, different. Like something inside him had changed. The guard stepped forward. Followed his line of sight. Then frowned. Why is he looking at her? No one answered. Because no one understood. Jasmine's chest rose slowly. Fell. For the first time. Something moved in her expression. Not confusion. Recognition. Soft. Almost unnoticeable. She took a small step closer. Careful. Measured. This time. No one stopped her. Because now, they were watching him. Not her. She reached the bedside. Stopped. And then, quietly, she spoke. "You're back." The words were simple. But they landed differently. Min-Jae's eyes sharpened slightly. A reaction. The doctor saw it immediately. He's responding to her. That changed everything. "Why?" one of the guards demanded. Still. No answer. Because now. This wasn't medical anymore. This was something else. Min-Jae's lips moved. Barely. The room leaned in. Trying to hear. Trying to understand. And then. A sound. Low. Broken. "You." The word was weak. But clear. And it wasn't directed at the doctor. It was directed at her. Because somehow, the first person he spoke to was the girl no one knew. The room froze again. But this time, for a different reason. Because Min-Jae wasn't just alive now. He was aware. And aware meant everything changed. The doctor stepped in quickly. "We need to stabilize him," he said. Everyone stepped back. No. The word was weak. But it cut through everything. Min-Jae's hand shifted slightly. Not strong. But intentional. "Stay," he said. The command wasn't loud. But it carried. And everyone obeyed. Even like this. He was still in control. The guard straightened immediately. "Yes, sir." But Min-Jae wasn't looking at him. He was still watching her. "Jasmine." His breathing steadied further. Slowly returning. "You," he said again. This time. Clearer. Jasmine didn't step back. Didn't look away. She held his gaze. "You weren't leaving," she said softly. The room felt it. That line. Because it sounded like a conversation that had already happened. Before this moment. Before this room. Before today. The guard's voice came low. Careful. "Sir, do you know her?" That question mattered. More than anything else. Because if he said yes, everything changed. Min-Jae didn't answer immediately. His eyes stayed on her. Studying. Like he was trying to pull something from memory. Something just out of reach. Then. His fingers tightened slightly. And he said. "No." Then. His voice dropped. Lower. More certain. "But I should." Silence. Real. Because that answer didn't solve anything. It made everything worse. Because now, the most dangerous man in the room had just admitted something he never would. He didn't know her. But somehow, she mattered. And no one in that room was ready to understand why. No one spoke after that. Not immediately. Because what he said didn't sit right. "I don't know her." That made sense. "But I should." That didn't. The doctor cleared his throat, trying to bring things back under control. "His brain is still recovering," he said carefully. "Confusion is normal." "No." Min-Jae's voice came again. Stronger this time. Still weak, but clearer. That single word shut the doctor up instantly. "I'm not confused," he said slowly. Each word measured. Deliberate. Like he was choosing them carefully. His eyes didn't leave Jasmine. Not even for a second. "I just can't place it." That was worse. Because that meant this wasn't random. Jasmine felt it. That pull again. Not fear. Something deeper. Like standing in front of something that already knew her. Before she knew it, the guard stepped forward again. "Sir, you need to rest," he said. Min-Jae didn't respond. Instead, his hand shifted again. Slowly. Reaching. Not toward the guard. Not toward the doctor. Toward her. The room tensed instantly. "Stop." One of the men moved quickly. Not aggressive, but alert. Because that movement, that intention, meant something. Jasmine hesitated. Just for a second. Then, she stepped closer. Because for the first time, she didn't just stand there. She moved toward him. "Don't touch him," the doctor said quickly. Not harsh. But urgent. Jasmine stopped. Half a step away from the bed. Min-Jae's hand remained lifted. Barely. Shaking slightly from weakness. But still reaching. "Sir," the guard started. Min-Jae didn't look at him. Didn't acknowledge him. "Come here," he said. The room went still. Because that wasn't a suggestion. That was a command. And it wasn't directed at his men. It was directed at her. Jasmine's chest rose slowly. Fell. She stepped closer. This time, no one stopped her. Because no one wanted to be the one to interfere. She reached the bedside. Close enough now. Min-Jae's hand found hers. Contact. Warm. Real. And in that exact moment, something changed. His breathing steadied further. The machine followed. Beep. 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 More consistent. The doctor noticed immediately. What? He stopped himself. Because he didn't understand it. Min-Jae's grip tightened slightly. Weak. But intentional. His eyes stayed locked on hers. "There it is," he whispered. Jasmine frowned slightly. "What?" she asked. Then. That feeling. The room felt colder. Because that wasn't medical. That wasn't logical. That was something else. Because whatever was keeping him alive was now connected to her. The guard stepped forward again. Slower this time. Careful. "Let go of her," he said quietly. Min-Jae didn't move. Didn't react. "Sir." "No." The word came stronger now. Clearer. That was it. No one pushed further. Because even like this, he was still him. Min-Jae's eyes softened slightly. Still focused on Jasmine. "When you spoke," he said slowly, everything stopped. The doctor shook his head. "That's not possible." Min-Jae ignored him completely. "It wasn't the machine," he continued. "It wasn't the treatment. Then. It was you." Silence. Unavoidable. Jasmine's fingers tightened slightly in his grip. Not pulling away. But not fully accepting it either. "I didn't do anything," she said quietly. Min-Jae studied her. Deeply. Like he was looking past her face. Into something else. "You did," he said. "You just don't understand it yet." That line landed harder than anything else. Because now, this wasn't about survival anymore. This was about something unknown. Something none of them could control. The guard's voice dropped. More serious now. "Sir, this isn't safe." Min-Jae finally looked at him. And just that. That shift. Was enough to remind everyone who he was. "Nothing about this is safe," he said calmly. Then. "Find out who she is." The order landed instantly. And now. Everything changed again. Because the focus was no longer just on him. It was on her. Because the moment he said that, she stopped being invisible. And in a world like his, being seen was the most dangerous thing that could happen. Sometimes, the people the world ignores are the ones carrying something powerful enough to change everything. And sometimes, when everyone else gives up, faith is the only thing that refuses to let go. If this moment gave you chills, don't just watch and scroll. Like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Because this story is far from over. In the next episode, he finds out who she really is. The truth behind their connection starts to unfold. And the danger around her begins. Stay with Afro-Korean Story Vault. Because what's coming next? No one in that room is ready for it.